I like to say that business kicked the crap out of the scared little boy in me because growing up, Anthony, I was that kid who every Sunday would cry myself to sleep because of the week that was coming up. I had teachers that I didn't get along with. I was bullied regularly because of my acne, my weight, so many different factors. I was a good kid, but, at the time my father was being deployed overseas a lot and I was a good student, so I was
Yeah, because
sleeping.
you were an army kid, right?
I am a military brat
Military,
for
yep.
sure.
Mm-hmm.
And so, my old man was, he was in the Balkan War. He served 3 tours of duty in a very short period of time, and that was during my elementary school, middle school days.
Oh.
And so, I was developing as a young man without a father figure because he was always gone. And, he'd call me on my birthdays and stuff, and he'd be walking through a live minefield. It was just one of those things where I didn't cope well with stress, and I was always stressed growing up.
Wow.
And so as I got older, I started realizing that stress is something and anxiety is something that's never ever going to go away from me. Situations will get more comfortable, but then the comfort stresses me out because it's a new emotion. It's a new feeling. I've never been this comfortable. What's going on?
It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah. If I was uncomfortable, I'd panic because I was uncomfortable. If I was comfortable, I'd panic because how long is this going to last? And it was to the point where, I was actually in therapy. I had, little tiny, I had medication that I could stick under my tongue whenever I was having an actual full-blown panic attack.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was pretty heavy into all this stuff, and nothing was helping. Nothing was actually helping the situation or making it better because these were all Band-Aid solutions to a much deeper problem.
Sure.
And now, as I started getting out there, I started putting myself on stage for drama and participating in plays and doing all of these things that forced me to get comfortable. And, I noticed that public speaking and being in front of crowds was the scariest thing in the world to the majority of people.
Yeah.
So I made a decision in my head that if I could get on stage and perform, I'd be doing the scariest thing on earth. And so if I could do that and do it well, I'd have nothing to worry about for the rest of my life. So I played music in bands, I performed live, then I got into school circuit and started talking in front of youth. And that is when the transformation happened. Because youth have a well-built, fine-tuned bullshit meter. Mm-hmm. If you are lying to children or young people, they will catch it immediately. If you are not genuine, they will catch it immediately. If you are not being yourself at any point, they will know they're being sold to, lied to, or led on. So when I got up in front of adults, it never really scared me. Adults all have their own agenda. They're coming in thinking what they want to. But young people, they're so impressionable and they can pick up on when you're not being genuine. Mm-hmm. So that forced me to be myself, forced me to get comfortable with who I was as a person, and forced me to examine how I could best serve young people so that they don't slam into the same walls I did.
Wow.
And after that, it just transitioned into podcasting, where here I am. I don't know if you heard it, but just before our interview, I let out a really big sigh. And that was me kind of trying to calm my nerves down, because to this day, when I talk to a new person or get on an interview, my nerves threaten to get the better of me. But it's one of those things where I just have to shut my mind down for 20 seconds and get into it. And before you know it, we're halfway through a conversation, and now it's too late to back out.
Wow, man, that was really honest. And I can tell you, anxiety's definitely played a big part in my life. I went through a period of time where I actually, on 2 separate occasions, I had to be rushed to the hospital or driven myself to the hospital, because I was having such a bad anxiety attack. And I think it mostly had to do with the job I was in at the time, which was sales. And, that's always very hectic, and you got to hit numbers all the time. So those little triggers and things, but it was also coupled in with depression. And that's something that I've been dealing with for the past 10 years. And it has its moments where it likes to rear its ugly head, but I'm finding that the more honest I am with everyone else, the more I am with myself. And I'm doing that through podcasting, and I find these roundabout ways to talk about it. Like, I don't shake somebody's hand. The first thing out of my mouth is like, hey, I've been in therapy, and I'm depressed, and I take medication. It doesn't really quite roll off the tongue. So I understand exactly what you're talking about when it comes to the anxiety and just those fears. That's why I wanted to reach out to you, because I had read a post of yours, or was following an interview, and there was something about the way that you spoke, is that you could hear those emotions underneath it all. And I don't mean that as a bad thing. I mean that as you have had to overcome a lot of obstacles to get to where you are today. And that's what my show is all about. Uncovering these skeletons in our closet, showing people that you're not the only one out there, and you're also not the only one that can do great things,
I think people get misguided or misunderstood. I feel like they misinterpret things, because they look at you or yourself or myself as who we are online or who we are on these podcasts, but they don't really get to know us behind the scenes, where you might be larger than life on the air, but unless you've actually been through what myself or yourself have gone through, anxiety or depression or these things, you can pick them up in other people. And like you said, you can definitely hear underneath it all what I've had to deal with. And you can tell, even just in the strength of someone's voice, how they carry themselves or what they choose to speak about. That's those are the hinting factors. And I'm great now. When I get on stage now, for the whole duration that I'm on stage, or when I hit record on my podcast for that whole half hour, I feel like a superstar. I want to give my best A1 performance. But the second I turn it off, that's when the big, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. Who is this person who's sitting in this chair or on that stage? I would have never done that in a million years. I start to get pumped. I start to get proud. But the leading up to, probably about a day or two leading up, is the scariest day or two of my life, because I don't know what's going to happen, who's going to be there, is the crowd going to like it? Am I going to be satisfied? Will I say something wrong? Will my folks enjoy? There's all of these questions that at the end of the day don't even matter.
They really don't. They
don't even matter. We don't care. That's not why we do any of this stuff.
Yeah. The funny thing is, people are so concerned about themselves and what they're thinking, chances are they're not going to realize all these little insecurities that we have within ourselves. Oh, do my shoes match my belt? Everybody else is worrying about these same exact things, and 98% of the time, nobody else knows besides you. So that's kind of funny.
And it's true, because I learned very early on too that humor is my coping mechanism. If I can make somebody laugh, if I can make the audience laugh within the first minute of the presentation, that audience is mine. If I can crack a joke on my podcast, or someone says that we're funny, well, now these listeners are mine. Because once I can make you laugh, you're now in my comfort zone. You're someone I can laugh and joke with and carry on with, and that allows me to kind of ease back and be myself with you. So, it's humor is definitely my coping mechanism, and humor is definitely my weapon of choice when it comes to dealing with my anxiety.
Very cool. That's awesome, man. Well, you've had an incredible journey, and I wonder, along the way, did you pick up any tools or resources, websites, books, things, or people you could recommend to the audience that helped you out on this journey?
Sure. As far as books, I'd like to recommend two, if that's cool.
Sure.
One is a fairly typical book. It's called There's a Customer Born Every Minute, and it's by Joe Vitale, and it basically covers P.T. Barnum of the Barnum and Bailey Circus.
Oh, okay.
And it outlines this man's his marketing strategies and how he got so big in a time where there was no phone, there was no internet, there wasn't anything we use today. He was getting elephants to till his garden right by a train station, so that when people went by on the train, they'd see this outrageous thing. And I like being outrageous. I like doing, like, making funny faces and doing stupid things and being as spontaneous as possible. Because if you're doing unexpected things, people want to pay attention. Mm-hmm. So this book really sang to the marketer in me. Cool. But the other book that has helped me through life since I was but a wee child was Dr. Seuss, Green Eggs and Ham.
Nice.
Yes. And I feel as though if you have children, Dr. Seuss should be the first professional that you introduce them to.
Yeah, I definitely have read that to my daughter several times.
Because if you do not try something, how could you really truly know if you do not like it? And so many opportunities are missed just out of the fear of not liking something. You know, what if I don't like podcasting? What if I don't like public speaking? What if I don't like omelets? If I didn't like omelets, I wouldn't have gotten on the radio. Right. You know, because it happened over breakfast one day.
Wow.
So it's one of those things where if you do not know, if you don't know, if you've never tried it, you can't really say for sure if you like it. So Green Eggs and Ham, man, that's got to be the best book in the world.
I just want to go out there. I'm just going to say in the past and any future episode of the show, that is definitely going to be the most epic resource that we've ever put out there. So soak it up, ladies and gentlemen. You just heard it here today.
Yeah. And he writes another one, The Things You Can Think. And that's another crazy book. Like, you know what? If it's Dr. Seuss, assume it's some educational somehow.
It really is. It really is. It's far out.
Level. It's on the simplest level, you know, and it takes the principles that we hide behind entrepreneurial ventures or athletic stuff or whatever we decide to sugarcoat our morals and principles into. Dr. Seuss just lays it all out and makes it world, right? So
I might go pick it up and flip a couple of pages after I get off the phone with you, just to
fresh.
But that's cool, man. So listen, Scott, you're doing some awesome things. Where can people find you?
They can find me at well, it depends. If they want the more professional side of me, they can check me out at edgemotivation.com, or they can check me out on Facebook. Facebook.com/edgemotivation, or they can check out the podcast on iTunes, edge, edge-ucation.com. But if they want the more candid, behind-the-scenes side of me, they can check me out on Twitter at Edge Motivation, or Instagram is like the closest you get to my day-to-day life. And that's at edgemotivation_Scott. And Josh, you can find him at edgemotivation_Josh. He's my co-host. Not too active yet because he's too busy, but I'm kicking his butt, and you'll see a lot more pictures coming up soon.
Awesome. Yeah, I got to make sure I'm following you on Instagram. I know I'm following you on everywhere else, so I'm just going to keep that connection going and hope to speak to you again in the future. I'll have all this information in the show notes, so if you guys want to get in touch with Scott, check out what he's doing. If you want to book him for a speaking gig, anything like that, any coaching, he's a great guy to know, and I have the pleasure of getting to know this guy and getting to know him a little more here in the future. So, Scott, thanks so much for coming on the show today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for having me, Anthony. I appreciate it so much. Have a good one, brother.
All right, man. Thanks.
As always, at the end of every show, we'd like to urge you, no matter what the rest of your day brings, control the controllable. As for the rest, keep on flowing and just be. This has been me, myself, and I. Thanks for tuning in. Tell me what to do.